tell us a little bit about how to build a mental model for how to think about AI and security in like the easiest way possible.
Yeah, makes sense. Definitely a fair question. So what I would start with is I'm actually about to release a free AI risk management standard operating procedure as a lead magnet for our course. So I'll just use that model as a way to describe how I would assess AI risk. So first of all, I would start by looking at the business problem you're trying to tackle, and this is something a business leader needs to answer. And the question would be, do we need an AI tool for this business problem to solve this issue? And you know, you better have a better answer than just yes. And if you drill down and say why, the answer can't be, oh, because I want a fancy AI tool and I'm hearing about it a lot on social media. So, you need to clear that initial hurdle and understand what business problem you're solving rather than I just want AI. Assuming you've done that, I'd say then the next step you need to look at is what sort of data is this tool going to be processing? So an obvious thing to look for is any sort of personal data. If you look at the new GDPR, it's got a pretty broad definition of what personal data is. A work email address that contains your name is personal data according to the GDPR. So you might think that, oh, well, we're just, this is just an internal tool. We're just using it to, send emails internally or something like that. Well, you're actually processing personal data, as it turns out, according to the GDPR. So you'll need to understand what compliance, what data privacy regimes you're going to be touching on first before you, as you begin your risk assessment process, and then you're going to need to make sure you understand, what sort of changes do I need to make to my operations? Do I need to update my privacy policy? What's our method for responding to data subject access requests? If somebody says they want to purge their data from this tool, if we're using a third-party tool, how does the vendor address these types of things? How do we extract all that data out of their systems if we get a DSAR from one of our customers or even from one of our own employees? So just understanding what types of data you're going to be processing with the tool is really important. So once you've established that, you'll understand what regulatory guardrails you have in place, and then you can kind of move on to the cybersecurity analysis. And you have two options here. First of all, you could say, hey, we're really technically savvy, and we're going to host this model ourselves. We've got homegrown code. We're going to run it in whatever environment, or you can use a vendor. You can use a third party that has a hosted solution. So each of these has its own challenges. A lot of security people that I've interacted with have expressed a preference for locally hosted models, and because they want full control over their data. And to me, that can be puzzling in a couple different ways. So for example, say you're running this on, you're running the model on Google Colab, which is just a data science tool set that you can run all sorts of stuff on. And I've done this in companies. Yes, I can delete things. That I can control where the data goes, but you're probably going to have some sort of persistence for that data. Is that sitting on Google Cloud Platform? Well, okay, now a third party has control of your data. Just because you're running the model yourself doesn't mean that a third party doesn't have access to your data. Now, of course, it's a big company and they're well-established kind of contracts in terms of handling that information, but you still are trusting a third party with it, unless you're running like a bare metal server in your own data center with an LLM on it, which conceivably could be appropriate for ultra sensitive use cases like military's using it for classified information. Then I could see that happening, but otherwise that's going to be kind of a strange deployment model. And also you need to understand, like, are you the most capable of evaluating or maintaining the security of this setup? Like, are you going to set up all the pipelines? How are you going to deal with outages? Are you going to configure it correctly? There's some data that I think Gartner said that 99% of all cloud security misconfigurations are going to be the customer's fault by 2025. So if you're setting up all these resources, think hard about how you're going to administer them from a security perspective. If you go the third party route, then you're going to be negotiating with an organization that, they'll have varying degrees of security attestations. If you look at OpenAI, they've got a SOC 2, Type 2, and they've got an API that you can plug things into. They've got a pretty explicit data retention policy. Microsoft Azure has using the same models as OpenAI, not their technology, but aside from the model, they're using the Azure stack. They've got even more fine-grained controls. You can opt out of some of the monitoring of the model for highly sensitive use cases, and you can also use customer managed keys in those scenarios. So understanding exactly the sensitivity of the data you're dealing with, and then adjusting the controls appropriately is really critical.